Because usually it says...
I'm going live now. Stable connection. This stuff it's hard, neuroanatomy, and I've got a couple of things that I'm helping with. So obviously I have a skull here, and in order to give me rewards whenever I learn anything about the skull or learn anything good about my neuroanatomy, I've got Harry bone, and I got a little reward, and I've even got a white chocolate frog. I don't know how that got in there, because I think it was about grey matter and white matter. Yeah, well, you know what happens at Halloween. Anyway, the good thing about it is that the neuroanatomy stuff, which is what's happening tomorrow night on my webinar, isn't something that I have to necessarily worry about teaching you, because we bring an expert in, and we bring, in this instance, the expert is a man called Dr. Nick Marser, who I've dissected with and comes and helps me with dissections, simply because people point at the brain and go, what's that? And I go, I can get you around it. I can get you around the brain better than I used to, and the spinal cord. But what better to have both a genius and an experienced dissector of the nervous system, and an all-round very, very nice man who sort of goes into a Frankie Howerd impression whenever he tells a joke. Never mind. And so he's great to have around because he knows all this stuff, and he's also an osteopath and an artificial inseminator. That's a whole other story, which you probably need to grab a beer and have with him at some stage. So I have Dr. Nick Marser, and the thing about the neural stuff, we're going to look at the dura, we're going to look at the dura mater, the pia mater, the erector mater. The thing about this stuff is I have questions, and I have questions about everything from why do we need a brain? I know it sounds a stupid question, but the thing that separates us from other animals is why have we got this brain and other animals haven't, and consciousness and stuff like that. We're not going to go too much into that, otherwise we'll be there all night staring at the lava lamp. But questions like do fluids, if fluids are fluids, can they be different fluids? So can cerebral spinal fluid be interstitial fluid or serous fluid or spit? What's the difference? So we're going to look at where fluids come from as far as the brain, the sort of choroplexuses and the ventricles, and how they circulate and what that means, and also what we mean by a circulatory system. Does it get oxygenated? Does it need? These are questions I have for Nick, and the effect that we have as manual therapists. What are we directly affecting? There's a big thing in manual therapy that sort of talks about we are touching this, or we're doing that, and we're moving on that. And I don't know whether that's actually the case sometimes. So yeah. So if you've got any questions about the dura, the craniosacral therapy, anything like that, then please let me know. Ping me a message, sign up for the webinar for tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about autonomic nervous system, parasympathetic, conscious, subconscious. I mean, I got loads of questions to talk to Nick. And of course, we're going to look at traditional anatomy. We're going to look at some dissection pictures and a bit of video, and look at sort of current thinking, and just generally have a really good conversation around neuroanatomy, the spinal cord, the brain, and get as much as we can. Obviously, a very big subject, so we're not necessarily going to be able to get that in there, everything in there, over the space of sort of an hour and a half. So yeah. For those of you that have missed any of the previous webinars, they're all on the site functionalfascia.com/the webinar series, so you can go back and get all those at sort of I think I've got 10 for 45 quid, so go onto there and have a little look. I've kept them low, I've kept the prices low. What I really wanted to do when I started doing this was to say, well, none of us are earning any money in terms of putting our hands on people or running classes. So, I wanted to try and make it as accessible and as available as possible, and at the same time, giving a slightly different view of the anatomy that you tend not to see in the books, and a little bit of theory, and also sort of translating it into how we as therapists or movement people or people that are just interested, how does it translate into what we do and what we feel underneath our hands. So I've learned a lot over the last 12, 13 weeks doing this. Last week was the pelvic floor, which is amazing with Jenny. I think we're going to revisit that because there was a lot of interest in sort of, basically going back over it again and doing some other stuff about some more practical and movement stuff and pelvis and sacrum and stuff. So again, the same with Nick. We could spend days with Nick and looking at the neuroanatomy. So cranial nerves, all that kind of stuff. Spinal misalignments is one I'm really interested in. So I've got a chart to share with you on the webinar tomorrow night. So come along, please spread the word. The whole point about doing this is that, what I decided at the beginning of this setup was that I would take on a full-time employee. It was a big sort of gamble, if you like, but I couldn't, produce the content for the webinars and put it out there, get the web pages up, get the Facebook out there as well. And so I took Cara, my daughter, and I've been planning to do that for a while. So she's come on to work for me full time now. So obviously, it pushes us in terms of making sure that we're covering ourselves for our costs. So the key thing for us is to make sure that we get enough people on a £5 a pop to make sure that, that we're covering ourselves. So please spread the word. It's about numbers. It's about getting people on. I'm not going to put the price up, and we're going to keep this price. And then after lockdown, we get back into it. Then again, what I'll do is I'll go on to sort of once a fortnight, once a month, and we'll set up a sort of a membership, and people can join that way. But I've loved doing this, and I've loved the feedback that we've had, and people have really valued it. So hopefully it will carry on. In the meantime, I'm going to carry on finding some questions to ask Nick. And rewarding myself. It's so tempting, isn't it? Eric Morecambe, what do you think of the show so far? Oh. So guys, see you tomorrow night, and spread the word. Neuroanatomy, all things dura, all things cerebrospinal fluid, meninges, spinal cords, denticular ligaments. You see, the old book is starting to pay off a little bit. I can't see anybody on this. I'm doing this via Vimeo, so again, it's a new thing for me to stream via Vimeo to Facebook. So I haven't really worked out whether anybody's watching or not. I think they did the last time, and so I haven't sort of got any questions or anything coming up in front of me. So I'm not sure how that works either. But let's see if I can find this in here. Is this I don't know. Anyway, so hopefully, yeah, here we go. Oh, here, yeah, there we go. I've got some. Yes, now I can see people what's going on. So, all right. So hopefully see you tomorrow night. Check out the webpage. Come and visit. Drop by and see Dr. Nick Marsden. If you do register, don't worry if you can't get to see it. You'll get sent the replay, so you don't have to worry about being there at 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, British summertime. You can register and catch hold of it later on. And if you missed any of the previous ones, you can either buy them as a whole, or you can go back and you can see the pelvic floor from last week, or the TMJ or anything like that from previous weeks. And that's still available all on the site. Just go to Functional Fascia, you'll find it. If you can't find it, just stick a message down in here and one of us will get back to you. Right, I better get on and find something about the conus medullaris. See you later. How do I turn this thing off now?